You couldn't, like... You couldn't have given me a dark move that's useful, like Sucker Punch. You couldn't have given me that. Is that too much to ask?
Like, my commentary at the time was a bit all over the place because I was ranting about that stupid streamer that was just making fun of me in the stream, yet people defend that guy, even though, I'm sorry,
Don't go into it again.
He was, it just truncate because I went through, a good hour and a half Rant, and, my playthrough in, 20 minutes while you were looking up some stuff. The dude was just being a dick, but people are defending his right to be a dick because people are literally so against, looking at stats in a Pokemon game that you get called the bad guy if you mention stats in the game about stats. And it just, I will truncate. I'm not going to go on the long rant. Even in a casual playthrough, stats exist. Looking at stats and talking about stats in a game like this is not a bad thing. Even if you're ignoring the stats, they exist. Anyway.
No, because this one's a robot, it doesn't have a tongue. So it just kind of does the sniffing animation.
You and me both, bud.
It's really awesome.
My whole point, I will at least keep harping on this because this just... And it's the one kind of old man thing I do, which is funny because at the beginning of this recording I was talking about the one guy, kind of making fun of people for using guides and shit, but, stats in a Pokemon, stats in a Pokemon game, well, you can casually ignore those or just pretend they don't exist. I feel talking about stats because the stats are an absolute that at least looking at that fucking screen does not hurt anything.
Well, I'm right here, so fuck it. I need to prove why non-linearity is badly designed. Time to play the game backwards. That was me saying that.
You should heal.
I was fucking going to.
You say, as you wrote.
I was probably going...
oh, hey, give me a goal.
What I was probably going to do was probably heal at the one closer to him before you said it. No, not that.
Give me a goal is shrieking at you. I'll go on at least a small stats tirade again. It's a game where stats exist. And I don't get this obsession with, oh, it's a casual playthrough, stats don't fucking exist. And you'll, get called out like it's the weirdest thing. You know stats exist, because this is an RPG. It's how dare you fucking talk about stats in a game with stats? God, people are stupid. I'm sorry, but it just irks me because this is, even though it's a little bit different, Pokemon fundamentally is an RPG. You can pretend the stats don't exist all you want, but the stats exist. And in a casual playthrough, at least looking at the stats and working off some, basic shit, we were not trying to fucking...
I didn't notice before, but is his wallet a Venonat?
I believe so.
You can go look at that in the key items, right?
I think.
I need to go look at that. Yeah, it is!
Yep. Okay, cool.
Where the...
He's down at the port town.
Wait. maybe it's this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a full... Yeah. You came here like I did. Here you go.
Because didn't I get a bucket here for the assault vest?
And some other shit, yes. Yes, you did. Because the town's right there. You made it. Because he's in there. It's legit, like all people. What?
Where is...
He's literally right there. You can't miss him. He's right. I mean, the cutscene has started, but the man was right in the... Then he's all depressed because, like, where's my wallet? I can't find my shit without a wallet. And he starts crying. Then you walk up and it's like, I need to talk to this man. And then that guy's all, you can't talk to him. He's having a crisis. But this is important. Oh, sure it is, buddy. I'm going to fight you in a Pokemon battle.
Yeah. Why is Dragalge on the wall? That's not a water type. It's actually close enough in... It's actually close enough in levels. It might barely live. Maybe.
Floatzel is not known for...
That's why I said maybe. It was 20...
And there's the Cloncher.
29, 30, 31. Only 3 levels.
Floatzel's not exactly known for living some hits. Smack it up. There we go.
I expected it to... If it lived, I expected it to be red.
Yeah.
I expected it to be really low red health. It's just a thing I actually am close to...
Close enough!
To the levels for this.
And to wrap this commentary to actually what I was ranting about with stats and stuff, you're close in level and you're using a physical attack and grass move.
Isn't the funny thing, because it's a physical attack or Floatzel's physical defense is I think like 5 points higher than its special?
I think it had better physical defense. Still not great, but...
Oh, it's only like a 5 or like 10 point difference. My point is it's just a funny thing of if we technically wanted to be the most optimal, we would have to hit it with a special attack.
Yes, but you're still using physical attacks on a physical attacker. Stab physical grass.
I'm trying to keep betting the highest and see if that works.
It's about how I did this. There you go. That one's pretty straightforward.
Well, it's also because he actually gives you money. It's like we can't be having the player walk away with any of this money.
Well, you didn't spend all of it.
Yes, but because I did the bidding the highest, I ended up spending 40, and he gave 50. So yeah. I only walked away with a really small amount. I say because we can't be having the player make money off that. No, that'd be convenient.
That covers that.
We can't have convenience in a game. We have to have the player pay. I think it's like...
You scroll past it, was down, it's right there.
We can't have convenience in a game. We have to have the player or pay. I think it's over 100K for story progression.
Anyway. Pokemon! It's just like... If I'm doing this kind of generic rant again, because I'll go on this little tangent a lot, it's like... Pokemon is fundamentally an RPG and there are stats. Yet, because it's a casual game, if you're just playing through the story, people just kind of refuse to engage with the stats and shit, and you'll get attacked for bringing up the stats as if it's some taboo thing. When there's literally a fucking stat screen, guys.
This is a broader, like, RPG problem of people just don't use things in, like, RPGs.
Yes, but I always
like,
get...
Besides the hilarious image of a, like, tank being put to sleep, the reason that one tank boss in, like, Skies of Arcadia is so noticeable is because that's a boss that's actually, like, weak to sleep. It's a boss that's, like, weak to her status, which doesn't really happen a lot. There's another, like, funny thing with, like, a Polygon, and this is sort of more of just a general Polygon difficulty thing. One, something a lot of people don't realize is, you know, every Polygon has to be usable by the player, so, like, you can't have bosses that exist to be bosses as easily as in other games, and someone might say, like, oh, but what about, like, the Starmobiles in this game? Even then, the Starmobiles, while they are technically, you know, bosses, they're still operating in, like...
the rules of Polygon.
Because, like, you very easily, and I feel like if something like the Starmobile was done in a ROM hack, especially because of there being a dark Starmobile, I feel like if you tried to use weight-based moves on those in a ROM hack, it would say that they were too big to be affected. It would be a maxing thing where weight-based moves do not work on them. But because it's an actual game, you get a Fat Fox.
We've talked about that. Actually, that's a good side rant to go into, because we haven't completely talked about that in this game. Pokemon, fundamentally, because it's an RPG, where every Pokemon has stats and abilities and shit, that you can't have a boss in Pokemon without literally cheating the player out of a good, fair challenge, where you have to create a Pokemon. Like, how do you... God damn it, I can't talk. It's like, how do you create a boss fight in a Pokemon game? You literally need the boss to basically have artificial stat boosts and stuff that go beyond Pokemon.
Like, how, you know, the Eternamax, the, like... Polygon, the thing was the highest base stats in, like, the series. The reason for this... God damn it, Static. The reason for this is because you fight this thing on a team with 2 legendaries. It is basically a, like, 4 against 1, so, that's why that thing has a, like, over 1... Isn't it an over 1,000 base stat total?
Is it over... Is it over 1,000 BST? Yes. Eternamax Eternatus has the highest base stat total in all of Pokemon.
Yes. Because it was designed
to be a boss fight where you have 2 legendaries. And
not just 2 legendaries. The other funny thing about that is that thing, like, it is considered a max Pokemon, isn't it? So, isn't it both the Behemoth Bash and Behemoth Blade are their 200 power version?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the other funny thing.
It's the Eternamax.
My point is that the other funny thing was is that this, under any normal circumstance, would be so bullshit. You not only are given 2 legendaries, you're given 2 legendaries with moves that are made stronger against this thing.
Because Pokemon is not an RPG where you can do boss fights. To do a boss fight in a Pokemon game, the boss needs to be, like, a unique thing that often has, like, intangible bullshit stat buffs. It's why I don't like the Totem Pokemon, because the Totem Pokemon literally exist in a vacuum of, let's just give the Totem Pokemon fucking giant-ass stat boosts.
No, that's, like, a funny thing and I really want to know what it is, because like the last Titan is the Dondozo and Totsugiri, and it's funny you're talking about stat boost because that thing doesn't use Commander.
Yes.
Which I find really, really funny, because that almost feels like they realized, because I think the total Pokemon do have like slightly more HP than normal, that if you gave this thing Commander, that would be kind of ridiculous. Because it would be.
Yes. Because it would be the Herba Mystica boost on top of the 2-stage Omni boost. And that is kind of
I'm going back to
I know what you're doing.
Even though I'm pretty sure I did not get touched a single time, and now I'm doing it more for the PvP.
It's my point! And I can use this as my own dumb soapbox, but Pokemon is not a series that can do conventional boss fights. Unless the Pokemon is like, unless you're doing a super powered thing like giving the Totem Pokemon in Gen 7 like stat boosts, or they make you fight something that literally sort of only exists at the moment, like the Titans in this game being slightly bigger, like more HP focused kind of boss monsters.
But the Titans, while I did do the cheese strat, I think is a fair way of doing a boss fight, because while they have slightly higher HP, and I've heard slightly higher base stats than normal, they still apply to all the normal standards
of Pokemon.
Of the Pokemon you fight. And we also have the other hilarious thing was that, now granted these are kind of hard to get a hold of in this game a little, but almost all of the Titans in this are physical attackers, and none of them, except for, I think, the Dondozo, have a way to be immune to or resist both Intimidate and Burns.
Yes.
So, most of them can be very, very easily... Okay, where the hell is...
What?
Where the hell is the one guy's gym? Because that's the...
No! You... Go to the building. Register the gym challenge, which the challenge was literally the man ran off and you just gave his wallet and they're like, fuck it, we'll just call that a challenge. Meaning, for your specific... Now, I know it's scripted this way. Yeah. There you go. I know it's scripted this way, but that means whatever his actual challenge is normally, like, you never got to...
The player doesn't do.
Yeah.
But anyway, in terms of boss fights, I would say the Titans, I think, are actually a fair way to do a boss fight, because while they do have slightly increased HP and maybe slightly increased stats, they don't cheat in any other way. And I feel like if an idea like that was done in a ROM hack, they would have, like, more dumb bullshit.
Yeah, the Titans...
Like the Dondozo, I feel like, would have the fucking stat
The
boost.
Titans were a step in the right direction, but my whole point, stats in Pokemon exist, and you can't do traditional boss fights without giving the game...
Without having the game cheat, but that's sort of how you have to create difficulty in Pokemon in general, because that's what 90% of ROM hacks do to create difficulty, is the game just cheats and is given so many unfair boosts in the game's favor, it's not even funny.
And this goes back to that thing we talked about on and off, where people want, like, gym leaders and shit to have, like, stupid amounts of EV training, even though that is a god-awful idea.
You think you want that, but you don't.
It's time for the question of the day and my overall thoughts on the topic. So anyway, how many of you agree with the point I was making about Totem Pokemon? Back in the day, me and Sean would constantly argue about whether or not Totem Pokemon were fair or unfair. Sean always thought Totem Pokemon were fair. I always thought Totem Pokemon were unfair, and I stick by that point. I don't care what anybody says. If you make a boss fight in a Pokemon game challenging by giving that boss fight free artificial stat boosts, you are basically admitting that Pokemon is a game series that cannot have traditional boss fights without you basically cheating and giving the boss fight some type of artificial boost. However, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet actually prove that you can do a good boss fight in a Pokemon game without resorting to giving the fight cheap and artificial stat modifications in order to make the fight harder. Even when the Titan Pokemon eat the Herba Mystica, the modifications they get are marginal, and I'm really happy about that. On top of that, they actually let you use weight-based damage against the Titans, so you can actually hit the Titans with moves that do more damage the heavier the target is, meaning a move like Low Kick can deal massive damage to the Titans. And the same goes for the Starmobiles, which I also love. And the main stat that the Titans and the Starmobiles have a lot of is HP, while the other stats do not really increase that drastically. And in the case of the Starmobiles, every Starmobile has a very unique gimmick, and those gimmicks essentially mean each Starmobile is a semi-unique battle. And while I think some of the gimmicks are a bit stupid, every Starmobile only functions one way. So, if you happen to bring the correct type, move, and or ability that shuts down what the Starmobile is doing, you can easily defeat the Starmobile. And the same goes for the Titan battles. And this goes back to the contention point that me and Sean talked about way back in the day, where Sean never understood why I thought it was good game design that in Sun and Moon, the Totem Como can be defeated in a single hit if you use a powerful enough fairy move and turn that fairy move into a fairy Z move. Sean always said, what is the point of basically creating Pokemon boss fights if you can one-shot one of those boss fights with a single move? My argument was always this: I think it's good game design because Como is 4 times weak to Fairy. I don't care if it is a boss fight with a Como where the Como has slightly higher HP than normal. A 4 times weakness should logically be able to obliterate it if you filter that 4 times weakness through a Z crystal. In my opinion, that is mastery of the type chart. Kommo-o has a 4 times fairy weakness, so using a fairy Z move logically should make Kommo-o a non-issue. Shine never understood why I got hung up on this. A boss fight in a Pokemon game should be vulnerable to the strengths and weaknesses that the game is built around, including little things like the burn status cutting physical attack damage by 50%, unless you have the ability Guts, in which case the drop is ignored and you gain 50% physical attack damage when burned. Little interactions like that, I think, are fine. And my main point here that Sean never fully understood, basically, I think a boss fight in a Pokemon game needs to apply to the logic that Pokemon uses, because otherwise the game is cheating to make itself harder. And in the Kommo-o example, Kommo-o is 4 times weak to Fairy, so I feel like if I beat Kommo-o with a Fairy Z move, I'm showing my mastery over the type chart. If my type, moveset, and ability trivialize a boss fight in a Pokemon game, I feel like this is good because that means the mechanics of the game are working as intended. The moment you break normal mechanics to make a fight harder is the moment that I will call you out, because you essentially cheated in order to make the game more challenging. And I never wanted to see that in a Pokemon game, because for the most part, in order to make a boss fight in Pokemon harder, you generally do need to cheat. But this little tirade got way off track from my initial question. Anyway, you can leave your thoughts, opinions, and answers in the comments, or you can leave them on social media. All of my social media links, as well as my Discord links, are in the video description. Now, as always, I need to be a shill for a minute. If you subscribe to the channel, and if you follow me on social media, that really helps our communities grow. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope I will see you all next time. So as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, everybody. I hope you come back someday. See you later.